What do you mean open it
Wow,
with that?
wow, wow. Look at these five sleazy Indian boys. Back again. Look at these. Oh shit, there are four of us.
Yeah.
I fucked it there.
That's a clip.
Brown
Shut the fuck up.
boys scurry to me like
Like
rats.
rats.
Look at this
these four
underage
sleazy
Indonesian girl.
Indian boys. Welcome
Oily
back.
Mexican.
Oily. Even I cannot get it up for this
For
man.
these,
Too
for these
pasty, too
sleazy
old.
Indian boys.
Okay, episode 25 of the Boys University podcast. Sahil's in today, Aman's here today, Harun's here today, I'm here. Bharat unfortunately can't make it today. He's busy. I think he's playing football. I hope he's having fun. I do miss him.
Okay.
And today we're going to discuss war. And more specifically, would we fight for our country if we went to war? And obviously, contextually, I don't know how many of our listeners are outside of Singapore, but all four of us, to different degrees, have served
73% in
service.
Singapore. 73% of them in Singapore.
73% is kind of wild, you know. I thought we would have branched out more by now, but
We have been.
I suppose it would only go up. But for context, like for anyone else, for 27%, all four of us were conscripted into Singapore's army, and all four of us served our conscription in different capacities. So I feel like a natural place to start is everyone kind of like speak about what they did through NS, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sahil, you wanna kick us off?
I don't think I should kick us off. not for how what.
No, I
what
think
you guys
Simon
served the
kicked us
country.
off. I think Simon.
All right, man. Well, my national service was a bit of a
Wait, so
joke.
we're going in rank? Are we going in terms of rank?
I think we are going in terms of rank.
Shittiest-
Standing order?
Okay, so then it will be me, Harun, Aaryaman, then Aman, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
guess so,
cool.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, mine was a bit of a joke. We've got PES systems. I'm the lowest PES, which means I'm not combat fit. So, and I also went in just as COVID hit Singapore, and I left just as COVID left Singapore. So it was kind of crazy. So I was in for like once a week. I sat at a computer, took some human stock basically, and that was pretty much how I served the country. I went in,
Like
watched some
chicken
Netflix,
stock,
and left.
beef stock kind of thing. Or?
Yeah,
Stock.
no, like human stock. Like I was the HR guy. Right? So I every month I would email the squadrons. I'd be like, okay, how many of your people are able to serve this month? How many of them are medically unfit? How many of them are in training?
Did you speak
Wait, were you
to
doing
them
first
like that?
parade?
No, I
Did you speak
emailed
to
them.
them like that? Or like, oh,
I emailed them.
Wait, so were
That-
you the first parade guy or?
First parade, no, dude, I wasn't awake for first parade, bro.
No, as in, were you the guy doing the head count for first parade?
No,
You know, 'cause
it's
every
all
time I
online,
was
so.
no, as in, because every time I conducted first parade, I had to send in our head count to the admin side.
yeah.
Like
He's the
attending
admin
first
side
parade.
he's the admin side who gathers
Yeah.
the
I'm
numbers.
the admin
Yeah.
side who gets
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, yeah, I guess I was the first parade.
He handles
Kind of.
parade states.
Okay,
I don't know
He's
what a
an
parade
Air Force
state
man.
is, though.
Air
Can't
Force
lie.
man.
Was that your impression of how emails sound like? Like,
Yeah.
Good
Good afternoon.
Good
My name is
afternoon.
Can I please have your parade state for this morning? That sounds like me.
I mean, that's how most of PES 9 people sound, to be fair.
Oh my goodness.
Not this way.
Bro, that you deserve to get cancelled for that, I can't lie.
I can say because I'm a PES 9.
I think he can
He
say
can say it. He can say
I
it.
can say it.
I can say it, it's him, you know.
All right, Harun,
That's
Harun.
true.
On to Harun.
Yeah.
So for me, similar to Barov, both of us, because of medical school, we get to disrupt our conscription and then come back at a later date, a much later date. So technically, I haven't ORD'd, which is like finishing NS. I haven't finished NS yet. My date is probably like somewhere in 2027, 2028.
But you finished BMT, you finished basic training,
Yeah, so
and then
it's
you
like-
finished.
I came in same time as Aman. I did my and Bhatia did my BMT, did like basic
Outfield.
sergeant school
Yeah.
training, and then like my vocation at the time was medic for whatever reason, and then
Quite apt,
like
to be fair.
It's crazy,
yes,
honestly, how that turned out.
I don't know how they cracked that one, but like I don't know. I finished most of the course as well, but after that I disrupted. And, Yeah. So technically I'm a corporal, I guess. Because once
Wait, so you finish most of the course. When you go back, does that like progress
it's gone.
remain?
Because
Oh,
I
that's such a
like
shame.
now that I've done medicine and I have to go back as a medical officer.
He's
So I
going to
have to go.
OCS when he goes back.
Yeah.
MOC lah.
Oh
MOC
yeah,
MOC.
series.
MOCC. Yeah, sorry.
It's like short OC. It's like 3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
I
yeah,
can't be asked though. I can't lie.
we'll get into that, mate. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll
we'll
get
get
into
into
that
it.
later.
Um, During NS, I was a third sergeant in signals, and I kind of went through NS as like normal as you can go through it. So for me, there's not much to say.
I mean, say a bit more, I guess. You could say a bit more than that.
I did
Okay,
BMT
so
with Arman
you
and
did
Harun,
BMT.
yeah, and then
Yes.
I went into SCS. SCS Phantom with Harun and Barath actually. We we'd see each other every now and then, and
Yeah.
bro, I remember the route march or something. We were both sitting out. That was fun. Uh,
That's
that was fun. But I completed SCS. My
Hazel.
Go on,
great.
go on.
That's
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
that time.
No,
I
no,
believe where you cut to the dog.
that's
You're in a
fine.
conversation as well.
No, I didn't think you would stop though. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, you're learning how to be a part of the podcast. I respect that.
It's early days for him.
Yeah. After completing SCS found term, I was in Signals Pro term, and then after that, I got posted to a Signals unit. I was in a Signals unit for the rest of my 2 years.
All right. Um, I don't think we fully explained what the army is for like what the Singapore Army is for people who don't know, right? Have we really gone through that?
Not
Okay,
really.
so we touched on it briefly, but in like what Bhatia said or what Harun said, in Singapore we have mandatory conscription. So at the age of generally like 17 or 18, sometimes 19, you'll go into national service. You'll start with basic military training, BMT, and then after that you'll get posted to either command school or your unit. In command school, like these guys, like Harun and Bhatia, was sergeant course. Or you get posted to a unit like Sahil was, although Sahil didn't go through basic military because
I did, to be fair, I did.
oh you did?
It
Okay,
was
sorry,
just
my bad.
really basic.
It was just a
Like,
really,
really
really
fucking
basic
basic.
version.
Can we
Yeah,
count
so
that?
so
We do.
Count.
Okay, we do.
Hardly.
Officially, we do.
Okay.
so so then you serve the remaining about couple of years. It's in total a couple of years. So you serve the remaining like 19 months or 18 months in unit. But for me, I went through basic training with Harun. So we did that for 3 months together. And then I went to OCS, which is the officer course. I was there for 9 months as an infantier. So I was an infantry soldier. And then I came out and got posted to Op 4, which is sort of we play like an enemy role. So whenever the infantry units have their sort of evaluation exercises, we will play the enemy version to that. So it's a lot of like laser tag basically, which was really, really fun. It was basically every 2 weeks we were playing laser tag, amongst other
it's not.
things.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not that like fun, lah. Like there was a lot of shit
It was
part
that
of it as well. But
no, I mean I'm talking about the fighting part was really fun.
okay,
Like
yeah,
the actual missions were fun. The
yeah.
admin
Don't
stuff, we can
underplay
talk
like
about that.
yeah. Don't underplay like how
Oh
like tough it
shit,
would
it
have been for
is.
you, lah.
Yeah, so the admin stuff was more difficult, but the actual military stuff was pretty fun. And so yeah, I was a platoon commander, and then I took on more of an admin role afterwards. So yeah, so I think I brought this conversation up in the chat, right? The whole would we fight in the war? And I think what prompted that was, there are a lot of wars going on right now. Of course, we know about the Russia-Ukraine one, and then more recently, Israel and Palestine. So, given that circumstance, I just wanted to ask you guys, it's not unperceivable that Singapore could one day, and get into an altercation with generally it would be Indonesia or Malaysia or someone close to home. And in that situation, would you guys stay? Of course, our if we don't stay, we're considered deserters. So this is all a very hypothetical situation, and we all know that come the actual moment where some shit hits the fan and we actually need to go to war, our opinions could be completely different and things could completely change. So maybe we should just take solace in the fact that the things that we say now are very, very hypothetical. So say what you really feel. Don't try not to be too try
Politically
not to hold
correct.
back too much about
Yeah.
your opinion. Yeah. So Anyways, it's not like anyone's watching this shit, so fuck it. Who wants, who wants to go first? Silas, I'll take the floor because
Me?
you've talked a little bit about it before.
I mean, I guess it depends on the context, right? Like if we were like attacking someone, or if we were instigating the war, I definitely wouldn't want to be a part of it. Just because, why the fuck should we? I mean, okay, this is assuming they actually asked me to fight and not like sit at a desk or something, right?
They probably would.
Because if they
like
ask you to sit at if they ask you to sit at a desk, you're chilling, right? You're fine with
I'm
it.
chilling, bro. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Oh, Harun's in the jungle today. I'll just take that down real quick.
No, wait,
Shout
so,
out,
no,
bro.
no, I mean,
Admin for killing. So you do admin for killings, but you wouldn't do like.
yeah, exactly. So you still want to be part of the war.
You're furthering
No,
a
I
war
You just don't want to
cause.
do the actual killing.
Okay. In any capacity, I wouldn't want to
Hmm.
be a part of that because I don't. I mean, it's obvious. Like, why should low level men like us or like you guys die for a decision made by some fucking big man or big woman? Like it's just the whole concept of that has always baffled me.
Bro, don't be
Yeah,
saying
if
that. You're
we-
speaking to an officer.
My
I'm low level,
apologies.
bro. I'm low
Apologies,
level.
sir.
I'm the first one to die.
The high level
Infantry,
enemy,
come on.
To be
I'm the
fair.
first one to die.
You are the first one to die. I'm sorry, man.
You're not
Infantry.
the first one to die.
That's what infantry. Yeah, I think infantry generally.
Yeah, but so many men are going to die before you.
Like who?
I mean, it kind of depends, right?
All
Because
the men?
like,
As a
I
PC,
charge.
right? As a PC,
I charge
oh,
the men
shit.
in.
Oh,
If I was PS, I would be at the back. But I mean, even the PS probably will die. But like, I think
say.
generally the formation is that the PC will run at the front and lead the men in, because if your commander doesn't go in, then the men won't want to go. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, is
why
that
would the
it?
men do it? I mean, that's
I
what
don't
we
know why I'm
learn.
imagining all of this on horses, but you're just running, right?
Yeah, you're running, mate.
I don't know. I was thinking of the cavalry.
no,
in
it's
Game of
like
Thrones.
there's some elephants. You
In
get a
Battle of
camel
the
if you're
Bastard.
lucky. Yeah.
Oh, no, no.
Camel with your
But
lucky.
anyway.
So
obvious-
as long as Singapore is instigating, you're not gonna fight.
hell no. I mean, if I had a choice, hell no. Because I don't. It's just why should I?
But what do you mean
commit
by
myself?
what do you mean by instigating? Like, I'm trying to draw a little bit more of a definitive boundary here, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna
fair
probe you a
enough.
little bit more there. So
I
like,
think as long as
do
violence
you
is
mean-
started
do you
by
mean-
Singapore, I would.
so if we're making the first shot, then you're not down for
Then
it.
definitely not.
But if, let's say, like, I don't know, some other country approached our waters and made threats, then that wouldn't be some, or like
I
maybe
don't
they
think
cut
that's
off.
instigating there.
Maybe if like
Yeah.
I don't know, someone cut off our water supply, for instance, or did some sort of thing where it put us in a position where we needed to.
We're not comfortable anymore.
We're not. Yeah, it had to be done.
That was a really good one. That was a really good one.
Thank you.
It put us effectively in a position where we were forced to go to war or forced to
Yeah.
cause some kind of invasion.
As long
You're still not
as-
okay with that?
No, so if violence is somehow the only option, then I'd say we are not instigating it. Obviously, this is a very idealistic way of looking at it, but in my idealistic view, as long as there's another feasible option other than violence, but we choose violence, we're instigating it, I think.
Fair.
So yeah, if we're not instigating it, I mean, I would definitely want to do my part in defending my country, if that's taking stock of who's going into the jungle or not. Because I mean, at the end of the day, someone's got to protect the family, right? Like, someone's got to protect yourself. Someone has to do it, though. So yeah, I think I would. Especially since my job's so fucking safe, I definitely would. It's not really a question.
Bro, they might be bombing admin centers. Though.
They would. The thing
Why would
is,
they
like,
waste a bomb on an admin center, bro?
To take out the admin,
yeah,
I guess so.
take out the connections, dude.
bro. If you don't
You
have
won't be able to
admin,
send
like
out
you're
the
quite
operations.
fucked. Yeah.
Really?
How are
Yeah.
you gonna get your fuel rations, dude?
Yeah,
I won't get my moon dal dumpling.
Bro,
I mean,
how are we gonna
I would like-
tell you the parade state?
Moon dal dumpling, bro.
Oh shit!
Nah, I can't back
Oh,
that.
that brings back memories, bro.
red bean stew.
I can taste it in my mouth.
Oh,
I can actually taste it in my mouth. Oh my
bro, I
god.
can all of them. I can feel that texture.
Oh,
As you fucking like
Oh,
push it up.
you gotta roll it all the way to the top.
No, I swear,
Bro.
I swear it's supposed to be heated, you know. Like I swear, all
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
you're
it
supposed to
is.
leave it
It's
in the
supposed
sun.
to be.
You're supposed
It's
to leave it in the
supposed to be.
sun.
but we just like off the light.
He was
Wait,
actually allowed
Sahil,
it.
Sahil, you've never tried outrage, like not outrageous. Yeah. Wait, not outrageous. What the fuck?
No, not Russian.
What's it called?
Like I've never been
Field.
in the field, so no field rations for me.
Is it called field? Yeah, field ration. Right?
Is it really called
I
I've
that?
swear
had
it was something
I've had
else.
out ration, but not like
No,
not
yeah.
war food. I've not had war food.
War
What was
food.
it called?
What
What was it
called?
called?
Like, you know, in space you need like a
Field-
certain kind of jerky
It's-
that doesn't like
Was it not field ration?
I don't know,
Or
Sia.
like space ice cream.
I can't remember what it was.
Field ration, I think.
It could be.
Field ration, I think.
Oh, why not? Let's go with that, lah. Who's gonna dispute
war
this?
food, war food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't had war food.
Uh,
In
Ration
fact,
pack.
some mornings Kaya
The
toast
ration pack.
No way, and Kaya.
and peanut butter. Unlimited as well. Like
I'm
you
not-
go
I
up
don't
just
think
Oh
it's
wait,
that
no,
either.
we did
slices
too.
of bread.
No, we did too. We did too.
Yeah, but ours was.
That's-
Do you remember the
you're not-
BMT? Do you remember the BMT one?
What the
Yeah,
the planter?
Yeah.
Planter.
No, the worst one was the birds, dude. Like
yeah.
it's 6 a.m. You go there and then you sit at the BMT table and it's dark outside. And then I remember I was standing in line. I was standing in line, my bread in my hand, right? And I was waiting for the kaya. And then a bird landed on the rim of the kaya. And I looked at it. I was just like, that's it already. I can't. I never ate it again. I never ate kaya again.
That ruined it for you.
No,
I can't
but the
remember
thing-
if it actually ate, but
The-
I remember seeing the birds munching around. I
the
couldn't do it.
problem is,
That
right? The
lineup
problem is
was
all of
really
us
fun.
were obviously different like companies in BMT, and like we had okay, you guys were in the same company, but like obviously everyone had like different like breakfast times. But everyone I've spoken to who went to like Tekong for BMT, everyone has a bird digging through kaya or like peanut butter story because it happens so
Yeah, because the
fucking
birds
much,
were
bro.
there.
Bro. And no, it happened like every fucking morning. You go there like some Harun, what do
Bhatia,
you
you're
think?
up. No,
Am I
Bhatia,
up?
you're up.
All right, okay. For me, I would. For me, it's not like a very to be fair, like for me, it's a bit of like a identity like issue kind of thing, and also since like it gives us fodder for the podcast, I will go into it. I'll delve into it,
Okay.
even though it's a slight digression. Obviously, like born in India, grew up in Singapore. Now I'm living in the UK, so like you've got this like split kind of like identity, or like I wouldn't say like Singapore is my country as much. Like it probably is the most my country of the three places I am from, or like I am at, or whatever. But
Where are you from?
no, I'd say the thing that's the issue, right? Like I
Isn't it
am
just Singapore and India?
yeah, I am. But then the problem I have is that like it's just like I don't know how much I associate myself with being Indian, how much I associate myself with being Singaporean. Because like you know my parents. Like my parents aren't very like
Yeah.
Singaporean people. They're very Indian and they raised me like that. So even in Singapore, like over summer I was interning at a company and like I got so many people asking me like where am I from? I was like, bro, like I'm Singaporean, like I am from Singapore. And then they're just like
But I think
weirded out
you
by
are.
that.
I think you are Singaporean. Like if I think on initial inspection you might not seem that Singaporean just because like the way you speak is not. You have a little bit of an Indian accent and like you enunciate properly, which is generally not what Singaporeans do. Like you don't lalelu so much. So
Yeah.
on initial inspection, but I think you share all the common cultural characteristics of Singaporeans. So
I'd say
I would bucket you in Singapore.
Yeah, I'd say
I
I
think
do.
to some extent that's his point.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
It's like I don't perfectly fall into any conception of any kind of like place I'm at. So like whether it be Indian, whether it be Singaporean, definitely not English. I can tell you that for a fact. But that's the point also. But I'd say mostly I am Singaporean. So but for me the loyalty to country isn't that much of a deal. For me it comes down to it's where my friends and family are. And if we went to war tomorrow and I was called up to fight, I would, because for me it's a no-brainer. Like all my friends and most of my friends are in Singapore, all the ones that matter at least are in Singapore. My family, my parents are in Singapore, so like it's I would definitely fight, and I would definitely like for me it doesn't matter as much as the whole like moral quandary of it as like it does for Sahil, because for me the fact is that you kill or be killed, that kind of thing.
Rooney?
I guess I'm in a bit more of a unique position here because of like the role I take on in a war. So I'm assuming it'd be whatever role like that I realistically would be taking on.
Yeah.
So even if I didn't do medical school, I would have been a medic. And the way things work for medics and doctors in the war is you're not fighting really. Like your job is made up of helping people, saving people, casualties in the war. And free pass for me as well, because technically it's illegal to kill a medic or a doctor in the war.
Geneva Convention, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
big.
you got a big old like yeah, but once war starts, everyone's committing war crimes. So
Yeah.
you know,
Also true.
it doesn't really matter. But
We can
on
hope.
paper,
To be fair, I'd drop a war crime or two just for fun because who's going to prosecute it? You know, like
yeah, who's gonna know? You're
Who's
probably
gonna
gonna
know?
die too.
yeah, bro.
Like,
I'd kill
you-
one of like my unit members just because like who's going to stop me?
Friendly fire.
That guy just went on a pool like, I gotta protect my friends, my family, but he fucking killed his unit member
because they're not
for
his friends.
fun.
Bro, there was this one guy who used to email me every morning asking for the parade state. He was so
Dude,
fucking annoying.
was
I
just
just turned
doing
around
his
and
job,
like,
That was Sahil doing that.
I know, like, hey,
I remember brought a sniper back into Singapore land, just aimed for me.
bro, I go on like a complete like off course like mission by myself just to kill that one guy who asked me for the parade state.
You're like John Wick through the whole fucking Singapore army, get to Changi Air Base West, HRMC PM branch, Sahil.
the visual of Bhatia John.
That is good.
It would be like the scene. There's one John Wick where Boban was in the movie, right?
Oh yeah, I've heard.
Boban was in it, and they had like a fight scene. That was fucking hilarious. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so,
It'd be sick, man.
so my role would be, I guess, a lot more unique. In the sense that I'd actually be doing a lot of good for whatever like bleakness or like hell that'll be going on. Yeah, and then there's a free pass of likely not dying or like having a lower chance of dying. And like it's actually interesting, like if for example there's two casualties, one is like a Singaporean and one is a enemy. And the Singaporean is not like the injury of the enemy is like worse and more life threatening than the Singaporean. We'd have to treat the enemy first.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
that's one of the that's one of
Wait,
the
so if you see, but I mean, you as an officer you're not a medic, so a medic will go onto the front lines and actually like retrieve the bodies, right?
Yeah.
You would
So-
just
so-
be in the medical center towards the back or the medical tent set up at the back.
Yeah.
So in that sense, would basically all enemy or Blue Force soldiers be brought to the medical tent just as they are, and then you make the assessment yourself? Do you know how that works?
I'm not so sure, but like the stuff I learned was during the medic course actually, because I don't have like medical officer knowledge yet. But during the medic course, what we learned, I'm assuming because medics are more involved in like the triage process and like triage process and bringing like casualties into the tent in the first place. So I'm assuming like that knowledge comes in handy for like weeding out and like prioritizing patients and stuff like that. Because I think at the end of the day, a doctor just sits inside and actually treats. I don't think he has to be overly involved in the whole politics of it or deciding who has to go first. And I mean, I'm sure they play some sort of part, but I'm sure there's a triage system that's like quite clear. Yeah.
Is it on me now?
Yeah.
Man. So if you'd asked me this a few years ago, maybe two years ago or so, even probably in army, I would probably have said a similar thing to Sahil, which is if I think the cause is right, then I would fight. If I don't think the cause is right, I won't fight. But in more recent years, thinking about this more recently, I think I lean more towards Bhatia now. Because if you think about it, what he said is correct in the sense that at the end of the day, if a war is going to happen, whether we win or lose depends on how many people we have to fight, correct? And so whether or not it fits my moral agenda, whether or not it fits my political views, for example, if I'm not there to defend my country, then my country will die. My country will fall. And if everyone had the same mentality that I did, or I guess that Sahil does, then if let's say we get into a controversial situation, we're doomed from the start. Half of our country will flee, or half of our country will desert. And then I can guarantee you that there's no more Singapore. So I think the more rational thing to do from the viewpoint of self-preservation of the country would just be to fight no matter what and just have trust in the leadership and have trust in that the government is, making the right calls. And I guess to a certain extent, we generally do have that trust. Like I think between the four of us, we probably would agree with more things that the government is doing than disagree with things that they're doing. So in terms of the likelihood that they would do something that I completely disagree with, it's probably low. And even in the situation that they do something that I completely disagree with, I probably still would fight. I think that's where I stand. So, listening to that, does that change your opinion in any way?
I guess a little bit, like when you put it in the sense that if our country were to instigate a fight or whatever, and that's the situation it is. And I mean, no, actually, no. I think what you said about the fact that, like, no matter what the fight is, if everybody has the opinion that I stated, which is if it aligns with your moral agenda, then you fight. Then you're right, half of the country will not fight, because there's always going to be, no matter how the situation is, there's always two ways to look at it. So, I mean, obviously, my whole perspective on it is not going to shift in one conversation, but I think I'm definitely leaning more towards the fact that I'll just have to fight or sit at the desk. Like I think because
no, like
that point you made,
if we talk about a situation where we do instigate, the precise situation that you would not fight that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
does the argument that Bhatia and I made change your mind in any way?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think it does to an extent, because like what you said, like if everybody has this mindset of if it's morally just in my view, I'll do it. No fight is going to be morally just to every individual. Yeah. But you need every individual to have the numbers left. So I guess in that sense, I wouldn't want everybody in the country to have that view, which means I also cannot have that view. Because I'm not going to say you guys shouldn't have that view. I have to. So I'm definitely leaning more towards I would do my part no matter what.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do want to caveat my stance a little bit, because a big part of my stance is having that trust in the government.
Yeah.
So if we get to a situation where the government is corrupt, or it's clear that the government is incompetent, whatever, touch wood, that situation occurs, then I think my stance would change. Because once you don't have trust in the government, then it's a lot more believable that you're putting your life on the line for no reason.
Yeah.
So I do agree with Sahil towards that extent. I don't think my marker of whether or not I would or wouldn't fight is necessarily whether I believe or don't believe in the war. Yeah. It's more whether I believe or don't believe in that what my government is doing is in the best interest for me and my people. That's probably the stance that I would take.
And I mean, if we're looking in the Singapore context, it will be like we're not we don't go around starting fights because we just can't. Like we'll lose, realistically speaking.
Yeah, because realistically, even if every single person that could fight fought, we're not outnumbering anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there are certain countries we could take. Arguably, I think Malaysia we could. England? Do you say England?
No, Finland.
Finland, I think is a bit strong.
There's one country with no army, right? We could take them.
No, I think if Malaysia came knocking, I think we could take them, just because I believe that we're a little bit more sophisticated than they are.
Yeah, I think military intelligence and like politics wise, like we'd be able to blow it over or work it out. I don't think like we'll beat anyone on pure like military might, but it'll overall, like if you look at the country, if you look at the structure of the army, the political system and everything, I think we'd have a solid chance against most of our actual like genuine threats.
And also, as much as we shit on the idea of conscription and the idea that, fuck, we all have to fight and we all have to go and spend 2 years of our life going to NS, the position that conscription puts us in is really quite strong. I think if you look at the fighting force that we have, the potential fighting force that we have that's trained and ready, like readily operational, is probably higher than what Malaysia, maybe even Indonesia has, because they only have a regular force, right? If they wanted to bring in more than their regular force, then they would have to go through a lot of training that we wouldn't necessarily have to go through. So that puts us in quite a good position. So I think if generally our neighbors want to pull something, we're in a decent position. It's not a clean sweep that people think might occur.
No, I don't think it would be a clean sweep if they come knocking, but I think if we were attacking somewhere, that's a different story because we're on their home ground.
That's true. But
you think our home record would be better than our away record?
100%.
I mean, that's clear. That's clear.
You think Old Trafford's not? You think what? We have a fortress.
Fortress? I don't know. I can't comment on that, but
I think we've got a bit of fortress.
Have we?
I'd like to think
our
so.
boundaries well.
Well, certain lanes that they can attack from, right? From my understanding, or they can just come in from anywhere.
Well, I mean,
if you want, but we got
they can come in on a boat, I guess.
They could come in from anywhere, but it's quite limited still.
Yeah, like in the sense, there are more likely places they come in from, right?
Yeah.
No, okay. I think we definitely have a home advantage. That's clear.
Yeah.
But the question of whether or not we can take it an away game,
we can clinch.
I think we still have a decent. I think we still have a decent shot.
So you think Game 7 on the road we have a shot?
I think we have a decent shot because our Navy, I think, is stronger. Our Air Force, I think, is stronger. And I mean, we're talking about basically Malaysia and Indonesia, yeah, right? Like, realistically, of course, if we go and fight against, the US or Russia or something like that, that's
game over.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to get through. But within our borders, I think we can. I think within our borders, it's not so clear cut as we think it might be. I mean, I've got a bit of faith. I've got a bit of faith going on.
Would actually within our borders, I think we've got a good shot.
In that same vein, so basically, let's say we go to war tomorrow, God forbid. Let's say that happens, okay? And we're in a situation where we can tell if it's going to be a winning cause or a losing cause. Would that play into your decision to fight? Because let's say tomorrow you're like, okay, we're going to war and it's against Bhutan. They've got like 25 soldiers at the gate. We don't really need a full strength army. And they're trying to cross the causeway. You're like, let someone else handle it. I won't fight. I won't fight.
What if you shitting on Bhutan right now starts a war with us?
Starts a war.
No, the thing is, the reason I said Bhutan, right? Because I actually they're one of the more pacifist countries, and they're actually a decent country, which is why I said them. Because I know if I piss off some other more aggressive countries, I know this podcast holds weight. I do know. I do know the privileged position we stand in.
You know what would be crazy? Did you all watch that clip of that? I can't remember what her name was, Michelle or something. That female comedian. No. It's this female Singaporean comedian who was shitting on Malaysia in the stand-up comedy that she was doing, the stand-up bit she was doing. She was really shitting on Malaysia. I think it got to the point where who was it? Okay, I can't remember which of our officials, but basically the Singapore government had to apologize to the Malaysian government for her shitting on them.
Damn.
It was crazy, dude. If we get to that point,
I'd be
pretty impressed. I'd be pretty impressed.
I'd be proud of myself.
It would be terrible, man. It would be horrible. But it'd be impressive.
It would be impressive.
That we could get to that stature.
I mean, you know what we have to name this podcast, man? I'm not gonna say it, but it ends with something sucks.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to.
I love JB, dude. JB is.
I love it too.
We all love JB.
I'm just saying, if we want to get that kind of,
clout,
yeah.
Nah, it's not worth it.
I'd rather not.
It's not worth it. It's not worth starting international beef.
Okay, but yeah,
bringing it back, and they just pull up our podcast.
To answer Bhattia's question,
yeah, exactly,
about the whole should we fight, or would my decision change if we were fighting a losing war, fighting a winning war? I'm gonna switch my perspective here to more of someone to be involved actively in the war rather than a medical. Because I guess it wouldn't change if I was involved in the medical side of things, because nothing changes in that aspect. People are still
Yeah.
gonna get hurt. But if I come in from someone that's actively involved, I don't think it would change much either. Just because even if it's losing versus winning, it's not so black and white. It's not so clear cut, right?
Yeah.
The less people we have fighting, the harder we will lose, I feel. Like there may be more casualties because we don't have the firepower to hit back when they do come at us. And for that reason, I'd probably still go out and fight. Um, but yeah, just to expand on that perspective a bit more, because I didn't really talk about it much just now. Yeah, if I was actively involved, because I kind of resonate with what Sahil says, for the most part about like the whole moral quandary about war and about being the instigator versus having to defend your country. I do resonate with that, but at the same time, because of the reality of it, the fact that if there is a war, it's gonna happen no matter what the reason is, and then it's a bit bigger than that because families involved, friends involved. Then obviously I'd want to fight just for that reason alone. Um, so yeah, that's my perspective on both sides. Just to be a bit clearer.
For me, I don't think my perspective changes. It's still dependent on the trust I put in the government. Because if it's like clearly 100% we're going to lose and my government still sends me to war, then then it's basically two options. Either my government is incompetent, in which case you go back to my previous argument, I wouldn't follow them,
Yeah.
or my government knows something, or they're competent and they know something that I don't,
Mm-hmm.
in which case I still have the trust in them, I would still fight. So to me, I don't think it changes my
So you're
opinion at
saying the
all.
government wouldn't send us to fight if we were gonna lose. So
Yeah, a competent
yeah,
government that I know
yeah, fair
is
enough.
looking out for my best interests, they wouldn't send me to into a losing fight. Because I mean, I know the SAF stance is that they're not going to send a platoon or a company into a battlefield where they 100% going to lose.
Yeah.
Um, it's generally you want 3-1 firepower on the enemy when you charge a hill, for example. If you're attacking, if you're defense, it's I think the ratios are different. But
Mm.
yeah, for the majority, I don't think my opinion changes.
Fair.
So
My opinion, if we're gonna lose, I think similar to what Aman said, that if we're talking in the context of Singapore or government that I trust, I would think, okay, I mean, if they're still sending me to war, like there must be a chance, like if there's a chance, then and if I guess since I am still leaning to a bit towards the whole, if it morally aligns with my views, if there's a chance and all that lines up, yeah, I would definitely try to do my part,
Okay, lah. So
because if there's a chance, then
consensus
wait, no,
seems
yeah.
to.
I want to zoom in a bit on Sahil's one because you're saying you're still a little bit like if it aligns morally with my views. Can you explain that? Because like what percentage of the decision is to do with morally aligning with your views? Because on the one hand, you're saying that you're adopting like mine and Bhattacharya's view. On the other hand, you're saying that you're still a little bit aligned with your
And
moral
I think because
judgment.
in a sense, if it's a government that I trust, then it would probably not be something that's instigated by us. Like I would believe, okay, this probably is the only result because I know that Singapore is not looking for a fight. I know that they never like they know that usually they're kind of the underdog in certain aspects, no matter what.
Yeah.
So I think that it's more of a caveat of if it's like what you said, like if the government goes corrupt or if the government takes a shift and if there's some change in the political scene in Singapore such that
So your
that
yardstick is trust in government, or your yardstick
yeah,
is moral view, moral opinion.
fuck. I don't think they're mutually exclusive, right?
They're
Like
not mutually exclusive, but they do at certain points they will conflict. Like you can trust your government and disagree with
yeah.
with the decision that they made because it's against your moral judgment. So in that maybe specific
Then
situation,
I think you would.
what prevails?
I think you would go down to trust in government, I think. Just because if it comes down to it, you see all your friends like going and fighting for the country, and I would feel like I would doubt this sort of moral high ground that I'm on because what do I know that these people
Mhm.
don't? Like it's kind of in that case, it's yeah, I think it is faith in the government and a bit of faith in my friends. Like like if you guys are gonna fight, like I probably should too. So I
Yeah.
think it would boil down to faith in the government.
Aaron, were you going to say something?
No, I just I well put.
Okay.
I was like, I know we're jumping back a couple of conversations with this, but actually something I found interesting, like that Harun was speaking about earlier, when he was like telling us about what medics would do in a war. Do you think that like you can say like from that perspective as a medic, like you're not really like at war for your country, like you're kind of a neutral rather than a attacking or a defending force?
Yeah, I would think so. I think you're pretty much there as a role of helping people more than anything else. But I mean, realistically, the people that are going to be coming into our tents, I mean, 95%, maybe even higher, would be like our fighters. Like, it's going to be quite rare that they'll be able to come into like enemies will be able to come into our tents or be moving into our tents, I feel. Um, but obviously, I don't know that. I haven't done enough. Like, I was only in there for 6, 7 months, so I can't really say. But
But but when you think about it, like if you were to think about it as a soldier, like you said this earlier, I think that if you think about it like as a like let's say an infantry, your
mm,
decision making process will be slightly different to thinking about it from a medic perspective.
yeah, so I expanded on that just now a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
I still think that I would fight for the country, but I guess for different reasons. Because from the medic side of things, I would fight because I know I'm doing good, and there isn't really any moral quandary at all for myself. But um, if I was a soldier, on the other hand, obviously my moral my moral compass kind of gets in the way a little bit. But at the same time, like what we discussed earlier, coming into like trust in the government, trust in the people around me, and the need to protect my friends and my family. Obviously, I'd still go and fight just to at least help the situation as much as I can.
fair.
Yeah.
So well, let's wrap up this conversation. I think we've kind of covered all the bases already. I wanted to move on to something related but a little bit different. Um, what do y'all think about the concept of conscription? You guys for conscription, against conscription? Do you think it's fair to send just the guys? Do you think maybe the females should get involved a little bit? That's a popular view as well. Um, anyone want to take the floor first?
I mean, I can
I
go a bit.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I'll
Okay,
go.
but
Um, no, like I don't mind the idea of conscription. Obviously, like when we're in it, like it sucks ass and like bro, like 2 years of fucking like 2 years of shit basically. So like obviously when you're in it, you don't want to be in it. You don't want to be there. You'd rather not be doing it. But long term, I'd say like I'm happy there's a conscription like, because it comes down to it like what like if I'm gonna complain about me being conscripted, I'm gonna like say that oh like the 2 years I spent there completely useless. I'm never actually gonna use this. But that's not really much of a grounds for complaint because I think I'd rather do my 2 years, not have to use it because my country has like a stable army in place thanks to conscription. And like no country thinks they can come and completely like butt fuck us. So like if the fact is that I don't use that 2 years of training, I'm happy. I'm living. I've taken those 2 years out and that's fine with me. But as for your other point, like about is it fair? I think it would be a lot more fair if girls had to do it as well. But obviously, like I'm not the definitive authority on feminism or on sexism and
You have your
everything.
views. You
I
have
do
your
have my
views.
yeah. Like I'm happy to be like told that I'm wrong and that I'm mistaken or anything, but I don't see why the guys can do it and the girls can't because it's not like we serve without any like women in the force. There's like platoons or like people who signed on, women who signed on, and I could be being myopic here, but I think that if there's conscription, it should be for everyone. I think that's the way it is in Israel and maybe a couple other conscripted countries.
Aaron?
yeah, I guess I'm coming at it from a bit of a different perspective. Uh, obviously I haven't served my full sentence. So
Sentence.
so it hasn't really impacted me in the way I feel like other people would be impacted, especially time wise. Because for me, I'm still on track with the goals as well. Anyone else? I mean, obviously, once I get back into NS, but when I'm back there, I'm still going to be earning a bit more money, and it's going to
You'll
be
be serving your bond as well.
yeah,
Part of
somewhat
your
part of my
career at
bond.
that point.
Yeah.
It's not as much of a hassle for me, I feel. Um, yeah, I'll get into the cons of that later. But anyway, but if I put myself into the shoes of someone else, um, in terms of time, I think 2 years is a long time, and I think those 2 years, especially, like 2019, that age is um like it's pretty essential age, I think, for a lot of people. It's like that kick into becoming an adult. And I think somewhat I feel like, I guess it's a part of Asian culture as well, where we sort of grow up a bit slower in the sense that we leave the nest a bit later, we have children a bit later, we get married a bit later these days. But I think a part of that also is contributed to some extent by things like NS, which gives off this like aura of extending how long we need before working or before being stable or an adult in a sense. Um, and obviously that's not the only factor. I just think it's subtly playing a bit of a part in that aspect for us. Um, and it could be like a chicken and egg situation, obviously, but that's just my view on it. And I think like if you go into like at a micro level and you look at some of the sports talents, or I mean more specifically sports talents who either left Singapore or were not able to pursue the sports that they would want to or would like to. I think that's also a bit of an issue because I think it's directly impacting the progress of sports and more holistic outlets of growth in Singapore. Um, and just having that block there sort of puts a lot of people off because from the age of like 4 or 5 years old, eventually you're going to be serving national service and you know exactly when you're going to be serving national service, right? So, I mean, if you think about football players like Ben Davies, and stuff like that, people with like very bright careers, very big potential, you'd think that there would be some room for at least some flexibility. I think, I think in Korea, like for players, like big players, big football players, they get extensions on when they have to do the national service, and for them, I guess they just have to do like the basic training, which I think honestly should suffice for some people because things like 3 months, 4 months, even 6 months, that isn't a big chunk of time, but 2 years is huge, right? So, I mean, from the gender side of things, it's like a bit of a tricky conversation, I guess. Because obviously, with the feminism wave, it's like women should be equal to men in certain aspects. But I think because war seems to be a very old school or primitive aspect of the world in general, it just feels weird to think of. I mean, you always think of men and
It's
then women.
not that it's not that old school. It's
I
happening
mean,
now.
I know, but in our context, to some extent, we see men and women and children when it comes to war, right? Like these are the two big groups. So it'd be a bit weird to be pushing for women to be conscripted as well. I mean, obviously, but there's a point like there shouldn't be a reason why men and women can't both be under conscription. Like it does happen in other countries as well. But in my opinion, honestly, I don't see the point of it. Like I guess numbers wise, I guess training wise, I guess eventually deployment wise, but maybe it's just old school thinking or Asian thinking of like, the men going out to fight and then the woman staying, taking care of the kids, that kind of thing. But I still think it's important to have, you know, eventually if war does happen, to have someone at home to be taking care of the kids and stuff like that. Whether that be the man or the woman doesn't really matter to me, but um I guess the system we have now kind of works, so why change it kind of thing.
So my view is okay, let's start with the unfairness bit that Harun was talking about. So I agree a lot and I resonate a lot with the idea that for men, when you go to the army, it takes away 2 years of your life. And especially if you're an athlete, I think most of us were athletes, if you include Bara, we I would have, kept training. I maybe would have tried to go for SEA Games, Asian Games, maybe. Um, but when I went into the army, training kind of stopped. It became just too difficult to keep up. And once you let down, it's just very, very difficult to recover after that. Especially if, you're in the position where you're not able to train. Like when I was in command school in BMT, I just wasn't able to train. I have friends who, were lucky or unlucky in a certain sense. They managed to down pass, so they had more free time to be able to train. But I also do have friends who were able to train through OCS as well. Of course, it's much more difficult, but it's still possible. To Harun's point, though, I think it is very unfair in that sense, specifically for athletes. So there should be a lot more flexibility, I think, with regard to the way the government deals with deferment for athletes specifically. Right now, I think when we talk about the Ben Davis issue, the main problem was that, so if we compare like Ben Davis to Joseph Schooling, for example, um, roughly equal caliber, or at least very high caliber athletes. And Ben Davis was not allowed to to defer because his sport was not in furtherance of the Singapore flag, basically. So for Joseph Schooling, he was a swimmer. If he continues and competes at the Olympics, he wins a gold medal under Team Singapore. So that furthers the Singapore flag. But for Ben Davis, he would have, joined a football club and, basically just furthered his own personal career. So that was kind of the idea. But I think...
It's also not really true, though.
Why?
Because, I mean, it's kind of very narrow thinking, no? Because if you have a player that is of that caliber, finally we are able to produce a talent like that. And then you have this pioneer that shows that there's a path to get to like have football as a career, for example. That would definitely improve the football scene in Singapore. And if you send a player like Ben Davies overseas to train under like a Premier League club, which is where he was going, it's similar to Joseph Schooling going to the US and training, which he did most of his life. And then he comes back and he's able to win medals for Singapore. And in that same right, obviously, football is a lot more of a team sport and there's a lot more involved than just an individual performance. But I think it's a bit narrow-minded to think of like not allowing... Sorry?
No, I was just going to say, sorry, you finish your point.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a bit narrow-minded to push aside sports like football or other team sports just because they don't directly further the Singapore flag. When
I agree with Armand in the sense that like for Schooling especially, he's the prime example because when he won that Olympic gold and like he beat Phelps, you have the Singapore anthem playing at the Olympics, which is a huge deal, and all of that. And like it's very clear that this is a Singaporean athlete versus like I feel like football is a sport, especially like it's always club centric. So let's say um like a player like Ben
but
Davis
the
in this
biggest
case,
competition
like
in the world is the World Cup.
it is. But the thing is that
No, me.
you're
The,
going
the,
to
the
have
point
a
is the point is just that you are correct insofar as saying that yes, if Ben Davis showed that there was a pathway to better quality football in Singapore, then that might encourage more people to take it more seriously. But it's still a very indirect path towards
It is indirect.
furthering. Yeah, it's a very indirect path. And
Yeah.
if you allow Ben Davis to be able to do it, then that opens the floodgates for everyone else who thinks that they might have a shot to make it big.
But
And
who's
they would have
everyone
to further
else?
their personal career for the longest time
But
before
this
that.
guy had a shot. Like he
Yeah.
had the shot, he had the contract on the table, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's
but
not,
it wasn't a contract that would have added to Singapore's status in the game.
yeah, which
The long term, it would.
that's my
In the
that's,
long, but in the very long term, and in the long term, they would have to have opened up that track for more and more and more people. And I think that's the
what
issue
is
that they're
what
facing.
is what is 100 people to like the thousands they get every year?
What do you mean? What is 100 people to the thousands the area?
Like
Like if you open it
what is
up,
letting
it's-
100 people defer their national service in hopes of pushing forward sport in the country?
Okay, wait. To clarify, I'm on your team here. I think
I
there
know,
should be.
I know.
I think there should be a lot more flexibility in terms of furthering athletes' career and deferring NS in that regard. But I'm playing
Yeah.
devil's advocate here
Yeah.
because I do think that allowing Ben Davis to defer national service would have been the wrong move. If let's say after Ben Davis came along, they denied him, but they opened up a specific inquiry board and created a system around improving this sort of flexibility and had certain protocols in place, I think that would be better. That would be a better solution. But to say that we should allow Ben Davis just because he's at that point in time where he's able to further his own career without any precedent before that, without any sort of um, regimented inquiry behind that, I think that would be a wrong move. So I do think
Sorry.
it's too inert.
I'm going to interject quickly. I need to leave. Something's burning in the house. I think the fire alarm's about to go off. So you guys carry
Oh
on.
my
I'll
God.
just
Oh
jump
man!
off.
All right, take care. Take care. Did
Hey, update us.
you say Haagen-Dazs?
No, I said
Yeah,
I said update us.
Or update us?
Is this fucking house on fire? Like
You just see flames. You just see flames enveloping
we
the
should just
computer.
leave the call on
Oh.
and just add like fire effects or some shit.
Dude, there'll be the clip, dude. Bhatia dying.
That'll be
That'll be the clip.
We just put a really bad
Touch wood,
like
touch wood.
CGI
Touch wood, touch wood, touch
skeleton
wood.
there.
Nah, I think
Dude,
he's
that'll be
fine.
fucking-
Yeah, it's probably fine. So let's go back to the conversation at hand, I guess. So yeah, so no, that's my perspective on the sports thing, unfairness with regard to sports. I think if we look at unfairness of men having to go through NS, I do think that we take for granted a lot of the experience that we had in NS. I mean, for Harun, you deferred, so it's probably not as impactful. And for Sahil, you spend a lot of time as an admin clerk, so that's probably not a lot that you can gain from that,
Not
or at
much.
least maybe not as much as I gained, because in my capacity when I was in the army, I feel like I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about management of people and working in organization, and like just people management skills. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned a lot from it. So I don't think that those 2 years that I spent was a waste in any way.
But there's not many people in your position.
I think there are a surprising number of people who take away a lot of lessons from the army. They might not be the same lessons that I learned, but I do think that a majority of people who went through the army did take away very, very valuable lessons that they would not have been able to take otherwise. Like even going through BMT, that switch of putting yourself into a position you're not comfortable in.
My guy. It's my favorite fucking thing.
Even going through BMT and putting yourself in that position, I think is a really, really like amazing experience that not a lot of people get to say that they've gone through. So we do underestimate the value that comes from being in the army. So in that sense, I don't think that we should remove conscription for men. The question then is, do we include conscription for women? Now, with regard to women, but I agree with Bhatia to a certain extent. I think that there's a lot of things that women can do in the army that would make them very valuable to the SAF, to SCDF, whatever it is, to the defense force, really. They could do a lot of the admin work. They could do a lot of non-combatant stuff if need be, and it could be for a shorter time even, or it could be just a 9 to 5 sort of employment. But on the other hand, I think that there's also an argument to be made that women are in the position where they. Oh, there he is. Okay, I'll continue first. Okay.
He looks so pissed.
Yeah, he looks like something burned down. Is he on? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Is my audio still
You
fine?
alright,
Anything? Did anything burn down?
Not yet, but not far off, I think. But let's see.
Yeah, no. So sorry, technical difficulty. So, so what I was saying was, I think just to sum up that previous position, I think there's an argument to be made that conscription is good for women as well. They can add a lot to the defense force, but we can just taper it a little bit differently. They could just do non-combatant things. They could work 9 to 5s. Just
Wait, but can I ask why, if they are gonna be conscripted, why the tapering differently for them?
well, because I do think that there's, to a certain extent, there are biological differences that we should take into account. Like, I don't think women should have to go through the same sort of rigor that men go through. Carrying a fucking 35-kilo field pack for 18-click route march is not easy.
Like even a strong woman, it's
Mate,
tough.
on God, there were 2 girls in my platoon when I was in OCS, 2 scholars. Probably the toughest people I've ever met in my life. They managed to do it, so hats off to them. But I mean, the amount that they struggle compared to the guys in terms of just sheer workload, just in terms of carrying the stuff and doing the physical activity, it's very difficult for most women to be able to do that. I mean, it was difficult for men to do that, So
Yeah, just to caveat what I was saying, I agree. I don't think they should be put through that rigor. Just wanted to know what your
so
your
that's
reasoning was.
that's my stance on that. But then, at the same time, the counter argument I think is twofold. First of all, it's a practicality issue. I think conscripting that large a size, half the population for one batch, will require a lot more sort of infrastructural procedures. We'll need to create more bunks if we want them to stay in. We'll need to create, I don't know, if they have to come to Tekong, Tekong doesn't have that manpower to be able to support that. We don't even have the water power, I think, to support that. If we have to create bunks on the mainland, we'll have to build new buildings to be able to support that for BMT. It's even the administrative duties, all of that is just a nightmare to begin with.
Yeah, if you think about doubling the population of
conscriptees
every year.
But then what about in a case where, like, if you have someone who's like down-pest and is limited in their capabilities, would you not want a woman who's more physically capable or like who's more like capable in those scenarios to sub in for the guy?
But the down-pest Donnies do jobs as well.
No, but that's the thing.
No, I will say our down-pest jobs so overpopulated. There were way too many guys doing my job. Like, we do not need that many people. They are fucking struggling to give us work to do, bro. Trust me.
I mean, he was
Trust me. It will be much better for a woman who can actually fight to replace me in NS.
I mean, I personally just don't think that women should be forced to fight. I don't think that should be the way it is. That's a very old-fashioned stance that I'm taking. But personally,
I think they'd like that old-fashioned stance. Not gonna lie.
Maybe not. No, I think volunteer force should be perfectly available. Women, if they want to volunteer and fight, please go ahead. Yeah. There is, and I have no issues with it. But I don't think forcing women to fight is the right thing to do. I think forcing men to fight, whatever, I don't really give a shit. But that so that was the first level.
I do, yeah. I think they shouldn't force.
Yeah, I know you do.
I do.
Because you get finger jam every 10 seconds. All right. So the first
what?
It's a finger jam every 10 seconds. But yeah, number of finger jams I've seen this guy get is unbelievable.
Bro, I think I've got a broken toe right now. It's crazy.
As we speak.
We all want to see my broken toe?
Broken toe.
I got a broken ass toe.
Bro, it's like it's off color and it's swollen.
Disgusting.
That's poor. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, let me just finish off. Let me finish off my point.
Sorry.
I'm almost at the end. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of time.
Don't apologize.
So that's the practical issue. But with regard, I think one other thing that we didn't really consider is the fact that women give birth generally, and so the biological clock is like, I mean, they have a biological clock generally, right? Taking 2 years out of their life is taking 2 years away from their career that sometimes, it's quite difficult for them to get back. Whereas for men, you can kind of push that, and we generally have quite an uninterrupted career. So I think the additional interruption for them would be quite damaging in ways that guys can't really understand. So I think that's another thing to consider for the camp of, no conscription for women.
Men have a biological clock too, though. It's just much lower. It's much.
It's more forgiving, right?
Isn't it until like 70 or something?
No, as in you can still have a baby at 70, but
that's nuts.
There could be problems.
Yeah, well, you don't have to do as much to have a kid for a guy.
Yeah.
That's true. The amount of you could have a kid and be in NS at the same time.
It's a 10-minute job at max for a guy, though.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
If you're strong.
This
guy. This guy knows, bro.
Theoretically,
yeah, that's my stance. That's my stance on it. Actually, I didn't really take a stance, did I? I just kind of explained the.
No, so I'd say your stance
you did take more of a
we shouldn't
stance,
conscript girls.
Yeah.
I think there should be conscription for women in a certain capacity, but the government needs to make like it has to be a structured approach, lah. So and it will take like probably 10-15 years to be able to get to the point where men are conscripted.
It can't be like a Hunger Games situation, right? Like if it's like if half the women are going to fight, for example, if 50% of the cohort are going to fight, everyone has to fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they can't just like pick.
Unless you put their name in more for like extra rice, like in the Hunger Games. That could work.
Wait, but
Extra rice what?
And then you have a
'Cause we're
ceremony
Asian?
every year, but it's like fucking thousands of names getting drawn up. So it's like 12-hour long. Some fucker in makeup in the
draft.
front. All right.
They use that Uno shooting shit.
Okay,
So
for
sick.
Sime Rise, our candidate is Sejal Bakaria.
Oh, get her
Oh.
That'll
signed
be
up.
nuts, bro.
Mate,
Get her
she'll
signed
be
up.
so pissed if you don't have to fight and she has to fight. That'll be so
Yeah.
funny.
No, but
A guy like you,
no, but
especially.
the thing is,
I
I
bet
think
she's
she'd
not.
understand because she would know she's more capable of fighting than he is.
She's not more capable. Dude, she's down petting as well. Trust me, bro. With a petty nine family, bro.
It runs in the family.
They'll see the last name. They'll be like, yeah, fuck, they're
No way. No way.
I think your dad fight though.
My dad.
I think your
You don't
dad.
think so?
My family can't fight. I'm telling you. Okay.
Would your
We
parents
can
fight?
contribute a lot to society. Sorry.
No, would your parents fight? Did your
Fuck
parents
no.
enlist? Did any of your parents enlist?
Nah, man.
My dad's like
Yeah,
half
none of you
immigrant,
would
so
have,
he
right?
didn't have to.
Your dad's like what?
Like half immigrant. Like he was a citizen at the point, but I don't know why he didn't have to enlist.
Lucky guy.
Fucking lucky, bro.
At the age you're supposed to go to NS.
Yeah, he was fully a citizen, I think.
Damn.
What? Even
I don't know,
kids
but
NS.
so he changes his story sometimes. I'm not too sure.
Oh, maybe just because he's Indian.
He's just a deserter.
He's just hiding in the...
Do they allow conscientious objection, by the way, to war?
I don't know what that means.
No, they don't.
Conscientious objection.
Yeah. Like there's some religions that are like,
Jehovah's Witnesses. I think
Yeah,
you just pass
yeah.
F. I think you just pass
Yeah.
F.
which is basically allowing conscientious objection, right?
I swear they don't. What? I remember this was a thing. This was a thing that we used
I
to
don't think you
discuss
pass F.
during
I think
NS.
you pass E. You pass E or you pass D.
Yeah. You
then
either
you
get
do
sent to
use-
you either do admin at like school 5 or something, or like
Yeah.
if you conscientiously object like
You
hardcore,
got this, man.
then they send you to DB, bro.
No way.
Like,
No, they
I've-
can't send
like,
you DB for
That's
conscientious.
messed up. That's
Bro.
so messed up.
that okay.
Fucking
The thing
It's
is,
a violation
the thing
of
is, right,
human rights.
bro. The thing is, right. I've been told this, and this is what I fully believe for 2 years. That's why I was like, ah, fuck, I can't conscientiously object.
You listen to everything and anything.
Bro, I
Yeah, you're
don't.
gullible.
Bro,
I feel
bro.
like a simple
Nah.
Google search would have
I
alleviated
think if
it.
you were shorter, you'd be smarter, yeah.
Uh,
I think part
I
of the
wouldn't-
issue is that
I
the
wouldn't
blood
blame
doesn't go
it.
all the way up and all the way
the
I
down.
distance
wouldn't
from the
blame it
heart
on
to the head
biology,
still
lah.
isn't that big. Like the difference is not that.
No, but you have to remember it goes through his nose first.
That's true. That's true,
That's where most of it's
bro. Bro, now
It's like
Not a height issue, bro.
98%
It's a
nose,
length
and then-
issue.
now I got control over this bitch. This isn't making the podcast.
Fuck off!
Oh, come on.
Hey, I'll have-
We should
I'll
make
have
a
you-
nose compilation.
Bro, Sahil, last week not last week, like 3 days ago when you're recording the previous episodes.
No, but you can't bring. You can't. Like, it's a
What?
different vibe. This is a joke against your nose. That was just a violation against.
Dude,
your
it's been-
nose.
In his defense, it's been a while since a good nose joke. All right.
It is.
No,
I was
no.
thinking about it the other day.
All I'm saying is we
That
can't
was a
have
good
different
strong
standards for
joke as
people.
well.
We can't.
No,
we
it's
can't-
not different standards. There's different levels of violation.
Nah,
That
We
was an
can't-
all too common nose joke.
Yeah. I was itching for
The
a nose
other
joke.
one-
It's been a while. It's been a while.
What?
Yeah.
What was the violation? Nah, you didn't even see
I
it.
don't-
You don't know.
Oh,
Harun-
no,
Harun
I
came in
thought we were
like-
talking about
Harun
something
came
else.
in like-
I thought we were talking about
Harun-
something. I thought we were talking about something else. My bad.
What'd you say?
He thought we
I
were
thought
talking
we
about
would.
something else. I don't know
Yeah.
what he was about.
I don't know.
What do you think
Anyway.
we're talking about?
Anyway,
No, I
let's
don't-
get back to the conversation.
Right.
So okay,
Leave
I'll
that
give
in.
a-
Better leave that in, mate. Better leave that in.
the whole thing.
Nah, that
whole
fucking
thing.
ain't going in.
Come on,
Come on, it was a good fucking nose
Just
joke.
shut up, like carry on. I'll put it in.
All right. There
My
we go.
guy, damn me up, come on.
There we go. Don't dap him
Cry
up in
lah.
the web. Don't dap him up in the web.
Okay, anyway,
Uh,
I'll give a
we-
very quick answer to that question: conscription and women. So, conscription. I mean, because it's a bit hard for me to give a
a bit hard
view
for
of this
what?
because I didn't really. It's a bit hard for me to give a good view about this because I didn't particularly experience NS, so I don't know the ins and out of this whole system. But from what I understand, I think conscription, it's not about whether we should do it or not. We don't have a fucking choice in Singapore. We need to conscript. Like, we need an army. I think the length is too long. I think there's no need for 2 years. 1 year max. And
Mate, there's no need for 2 years for you.
no. So
For like
I was
me,
gonna ask.
if I did 1 year of NS, I would have gone through BMT and then gone through OCS.
But
And
what
Yeah,
if you just
it
make OCS a bit shorter?
you know how short OCS is? Like
8 months?
it's it's 9 months. You know how long it takes for a US regular to become an officer?
7 years.
Like 5 years.
I was close.
Yeah, you're close, but still, it's like we're already compressing. You can barely call us officers. At this point, it's like
What
we're
if BMT is
really
a bit shorter?
being in the
What
bottom of
if
the barrel
BMT
to
is a
be
bit
in.
shorter?
But you need everything in BMT. Like the amount of stuff that we learned in BMT was actually quite necessary.
So you're
And I
saying
know
we
you're
can't cut
gonna,
down
I know
army?
Harun's gonna complain about a lot of waiting time, and Bhatia's gonna say, rush to wait, wait to rush. But honestly, the inefficiencies of the army are very, very difficult to deal with. Like it's just a big complex organization. There's a lot of protocols. We're handling dangerous equipment, so things need to be in place, and that's why a lot of things, we seem like we're waiting around for conducts to happen, but it's just because there's a lot of regulation that needs to be, there's a lot of red tape that needs to be gone through before we can have a
So
conduct.
we
So
can't cut
I'd
down
say
the
it's
army time?
also like a kind of like misproportioning of work, right? Because like everyone at the top has so much more to handle than they can, and as you go down, there's
yeah,
so much less to do. So that's why
So
like
true.
it's simple as that. Like someone on like the basic like ground level is going to be like, I'm waiting 5 hours a day. I'm doing things for 2 hours a day, and then like you have like these guys at the top. You have like people who are like CSMs, OCs, CEOs, all these people who like hardly have like a second to breathe because like they're just constantly doing different shit.
yeah. I think what can be done to improve efficiency is if maybe they looked through your like either academic records or like maybe your skill set and matched you to a division that can optimize your skill set a bit better. Because a number of times I've seen people who are completely competent, completely good at a lot of different tasks be completely underutilized, which I'm sure Sahil was one of them. Completely underutilized. Is just it's a waste of resource. So I think in that sense, there could be optimization there, but that's a very, very difficult problem to solve, given the restrictions that are in place for like safety and necessity, and given, the consequences of what can happen when something goes wrong in the army is very, very high.
But I
So
was thinking more along the lines of not improving efficiency, but decreasing the amount that you're trying to cover. Like in the sense, I don't know, maybe would it be feasible to rethink the way rethink the purpose of the army in Singapore? Like instead of making full-fledged soldiers, shortening the time and maybe just making them operationally ready to a certain extent. And then they can have a kind of have a compromise
Do we
between
need so many officers? Like trained officers?
we don't have that many officers.
I mean,
I'd say there's too few officers. That's why there's so much work like that goes around at the top level that's just not.
yeah, but that could be a work distribution issue, no?
I mean, it depends on the unit. The army is so big. Like we're just talking about army here. The
Yeah.
army is so big, and some units are more complex than others. For example, signals is a very complex unit. Infantry less complex to a certain extent. Um, so the quality of officers that you need in terms of like competency in what they do is very different as well. You could always do with more officers. I think it's very difficult to cut down the number of officers that we have, given the fact that our officers are not even properly, like, arguably they're not properly trained officers. If you
Bro,
look
I've
at
seen some
what
I've seen dumbasses get into OCS, bro. Like
I mean, it's not a perfect
some of
system, man.
some of the decisions are absolutely shocking me.
Yeah. No, but also it's an issue. It's also an issue with the fact that a lot of people don't want to be in the army.
Yeah.
So when you put a person who is maybe competent but lacks almost every motivation to be there in a situation where they have to lead people and they have to make actual decisions and make, like properly have properly difficult lives, it's very, very difficult for them to perform in the capacity that they're supposed to be performing at. Um, and then equally, you might have people who are very incompetent, slip through the cracks and end up in positions where they shouldn't be. It's a very difficult situation to be in.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's any fault of the army. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's just the way it is with conscription. So, but this answers Sarah's question. I think the best way you could shorten the army experience is by filling in the gaps where everyone's just waiting around, and by doing that, the only way to do that is probably to increase efficiency.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I don't think we could shorten it by much, to be honest. It's quite difficult in my experience. Like intuitively, I don't think we could do that much. But what do you think about the gender thing?
I think no, just because I feel like you guys said, I mean, okay, so if we conscript some girls, we got to conscript all of them, right? So this is a question of doubling the force, and I just don't know if that's I don't know if the benefits of that outweighs the cost, which is just the infrastructure that's going to be needed, the systems that are in place, and so then the other option is, oh, okay, so what if we do like a balloting of like which guys and which girls go in? So not all guys go in, not all girls go in.
No, that's very unfair.
That's
Yeah, I
way.
just don't think that's a
No,
good
it's
system.
it's all or nothing, I think.
Yeah,
That's just the Hunger Games, bro.
Yeah, you'd get
yeah.
riots.
So
You'd get riots for
because
sure.
then there's gonna be people who feel so hard done by. So
Although, okay, what about this? What if instead of women serving in the armed forces, they served in hospitals or they served in, like polyclinics or something, like different areas of public service where it's,
they need it.
they are needed and their skills could be better used.
It takes so long to train like a nurse or
So you train them for 1 year.
One year
nurses go
enough?
through like 4 years of school.
But at the lowest level, I'm sure there's things that they could do in the hospital, right? Like you're talking about all the grunt work. You need more like MOs and housemans to do all that grunt work. Like
No, but that grunt work has to be done by a qualified person.
I know it does, but would having more people around alleviate some of the work? Like things basically maybe drawing blood, things like doing discharge sheets, basic triage.
Mm,
Would that be a plausible thing? Just having more manpower to do those very, very basic like work.
I think it is possible, but I think being able to implement it might be difficult.
I mean,
Just because of the way the healthcare is set up. I don't think yeah, I think in the same way that the army is very, very big on safety, the same applies to the healthcare industry, where they don't want anyone to be around patients that isn't qualified to be there to an extent. And I think I mean it's true, like paramedics, for example, are trained pretty fast. I mean relatively pretty fast. I think their course is probably longer than any other course in the army, if I'm not wrong. And they don't actually serve as paramedics for that long once they do graduate in during NS time. But yeah, like to that extent, like most of your time in the army would be spent just training. And then I guess maybe you'd be of use during reservists, but I don't know how useful that would be, to be honest.
And
All
I
right.
think there's another reason I feel like a small reason I feel that there's no need to conscript women is that it's kind of like if we consider these 2 years as a suffering or like a bad thing that we have to go through, if half the population is suffering, I don't think the solution to making that fair is just making everyone suffer. I think it's to lower the suffering of the half that are suffering.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
that's an
mean?
assumption. You're
Yeah,
making an assumption.
it's a big assumption, but I'm just saying like a part of me that struggles to say, yeah, we should conscript women too is that side that's like, I don't think the direction is to be fuck it, everyone just suffer. I think it's like we gotta somehow refine the system that we have, I think. But
Yeah.
that's fucking way easier said than done. Like that's
I'll do it over the weekend.
please,
Just give me
do.
some time.
You've got
Tomorrow
time.
is Saturday. Today's
I'll
Saturday.
pay you
right?
like $7 if that's
Yeah,
that's
no,
fine.
just give me a bit of time. I'll do it over the weekend. Don't worry.
$7.
Sunday evening, maybe. I'll get
Where
to it.
I'll buy Syed.
Side.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds worth it.
But no Milo dinosaur because that's a bit too much.
They're pretty horrible.
I'll get the Milo
Yeah,
dinosaur. I'll get the Milo dinosaur for you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. You can Venmo me.
All
right,
hey,
boys.
Thanks. You got your homework.
This was a good chat. This was a good chat. Let's wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.